We are back, episode 146 of Journey Million. Look, holiday break has come and gone. Zack Rausch, Jared Valleskey, myself, Drew Skyberg here on this Wednesday night. Excited to talk about football, regular season all wrapped up. Jared's sitting on his couch watching the Packers move on, cheering on his second favorite team.
Where are you getting this from?
No, you don't want what?
What,
You're rooting for the Packers.
Aren't both quarterbacks questionable?
And they're going to get the
Jordan
job
Love
done.
said he might play.
Love's playing. Packers getting the upset. Deja vu last year.
And then losing by 50 to the Lions, or how's that going to work? Yeah. I mean, they have the toughest schedule to go through, right? They got Eagles, Lions, and then probably like Commanders or Buccaneers if they beat both. And then probably Chiefs or Bills, or they're not.
Could be Vikings.
But Vikings, no, because Vikings, no, because if the Vikings win first round and the Packers win, the Packers will play the Lions. I guess the Vikings could win too as well. Yeah,
the Vikings will play either Tampa or they would end up playing Washington. Tampa or Washington.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think the playoff. I'm a fan of how the playoffs ended up shaking out. Some of the games are kind of meh. Some will be snooze fests, I feel, but sometimes it's just how you get in this first round. I think Denver at Buffalo.
If the Packers beat the Lions or the Vikings, I will consider the Vikings frauds, but they didn't. So
Vikings look like crap against Detroit.
Darnold looked horrendous.
Yeah. Did you watch Darnold? That's why I'm saying they're not contenders. After they played the Packers, I was like, all right, maybe. And then I saw play Lions. I was like, yeah, no.
They're 14-3. They're a contender. I don't care what you say. They win games. They're a contender. That's just the definition of contender. A team that is able to win games, not pretty, but they win. That's what a contender
is.
Though.
They lost by 22.
Doesn't matter. They lost 3 games all year. So they beat the Packers.
2 of them were against the team they're going to have to get through in the playoffs.
Are they winning in spite of Sam Darnold or because of Sam Darnold? Did they win those 14 games?
Did Jimmy G suffice on the 49ers? I think he did. I mean,
did he win a Super Bowl?
No, because the Chiefs are a powerhouse and they beat them. I mean, that's just how it is.
That's kind of where we're going. Is we haven't really. I mean, okay, I guess if you go back to like the Nick Foles year, but that was like Carson Wentz regular season. It's a little weird, but I think our point, Jared, is just based on being a quarterback that you win with or you win because of, and we've seen a lot of the because of quarterbacks be the guys who are on the teams who win the Super Bowl. So,
well, no, because you don't always need like the Eagles. If they make it to the next round, it won't necessarily be because of Jalen Hurts. Saquon could. I mean, the Packers defense looks better. I'll admit that, but Saquon could run for 200. And now this is how we get into the conversation about JT and Bucky Irving, right? I mean, the Colts didn't win any games this year because of Joe Flacco or Richardson. Richardson might have won 1 or 2. But Jonathan Taylor rushing for 200 yards. Oh, he had 2 touchdowns. Take the 2 touchdowns away. He still has 20 fantasy points. He's running for 200 yards. That's what wins games, not just Richardson or the receivers. Like, how do you even think that Bucky Irving is better than Jonathan Taylor?
For Dynasty.
Did we forget his 2,000 rushing yard season a couple years ago? He was hurt last year for most of the season. He missed 3 games this year, and he still put up 1,500 total. Bucky Irving's had 1 decent season splitting carries with Rachaad White.
He's been in the league 1 year.
So how are you saying he's better? That's my point. Like, he's not.
All right. A few things. First of all, he's younger, right? Obviously. He's
okay, yeah, that's what Gibson
younger.
Yep.
He's more consistent.
Okay.
Because JT, he has the 200-yard, 3-touchdown game, but then he also has the 75-yard, 0-touchdown game. And because he doesn't catch passes, he has 7.5 points.
Okay. So I guess I need to understand the whole argument of this better. So John Taylor, Bucky Irving, right? I mean, we're talking like about dynasty. I guess that's where it stemmed from, right? I mean, if you're looking at dynasty running backs, looking at how they performed, this year, and then kind of forecasting how they're going to be, or just their value. Like, who would you have rather right now? because I mean, they're going around similar spots in terms of startups, I believe. For Dynasty, if you're looking at like that pure perspective, but there's a question.
I'll pull up their keep trade cut right now.
Oh, but like you'd rather have JT. I mean, I'm talking like come on,
easily.
like this can't even be.
Oh my God! Keep trade cut. Jonathan Taylor, 5306.
Yep.
Bucky Irving, 5307.
Exactly. Boom.
It's like one for one.
They're very close, Zach. It's just that like I kind of agree with Jared too. I know that he doesn't catch passes, so like that's where I mean if you look at Devon Achane, there's a reason why even a football perspective, like he's valuable. He really is in terms of what he does. I'm not going to say as a football player
brings
okay. Hold on.
PPR
How many passes does Bucky Irving catch a game?
I can look up his stats. Hold on.
Because JT catches like 2 to 3. It's not like he catches 0.
He doesn't.
Yes, he does. He averages 2.1 a game.
Does he?
Yes, I just looked it up. He averages like 2.1 a game. You might not think he catches a lot. He also has a receiving touchdown in the year that wasn't counted for his total touchdowns for rushing. He has like a 20-yard receiving touchdown in week 3 or week 2. Like he does more than just run the ball. He came out of college. He had like 2 receptions total in his college career at Wisconsin. But since then he's caught.
Right. Taylor had 18 receptions on the year.
Mm-hmm. So that's like 1 point something a game, 2 points something a game. I'm talking career in the NFL.
He played 14 games this year, Zach.
He played 14.
I mean,
yeah.
That in perspective.
Yeah. So it's what is that? 1.3, 1.4, something like that. Where's Irving?
Well, okay, so he also got hurt in a game and didn't play the second half, if you want to count that too. There's games like that, and then he missed 3.
I mean, well,
and he
Irving
came back
only
and he was
played a quarter
limited.
in one of the games too. So
yeah, well, he's been limited in like 3 games. JT has been.
Where
So
the
he had
heck
a
is
really
Irving?
injured year. That's where you can't just look at stats like you did on Sleeper. You can't.
Irving
do
had
that.
47 receptions. So it's not even close.
Also,
terms
no,
of
because
reception.
also Rashad White was their starting running back, and they're not just going to give him to Bucky Irving.
that's what I'm
They
saying,
gave him
Jared.
passes. They gave him
Irving, like,
receptions. Like that's
Throughout the year, Irving increased his share of the backfield pretty much every week. I mean,
But
you
you're
look
comparing, like, you can't do that. You can't compare a rookie running back who hadn't had his role yet to someone that's been a veteran in the league for
Jared, we're talking about
6 years
dynasty.
now.
We're not talking about this year. I'm saying he
Yeah,
won the
doesn't matter
backfield
what
by
we're
the end
talking
of the
about.
year. So
Doesn't matter
going
what you're talking
forward,
about.
his workload's going to be more consistent than it was this year. So theoretically,
Just like
his
Brees
fantasy
Hall was
points
going to
should
be
go
the
up.
offensive player of the year this year, huh? Like, just like he's going to be this, going to be that. You don't know that. James Cook was supposed
that's
to
how
be a
he's-
rookie of the year last year, and then he fumbled his first play, and then he didn't play until week 4. Like, you don't know that. Like,
Does it worry you, Zach? I mean, Sean Tucker, let's just go to that game. He had 230 total yards. Yeah, you know what I mean?
He's still the top running back in the backfield that week, or he still had 20 plus points that week.
He still had a great game. My whole point is there's obviously right now it looks like he's going to be the lead back next year, but I don't think White or Tucker are going away. White
say
will
one
go,
more point here
go sooner.
too. Zach, you're ignoring the big fact that Tampa Bay probably is the best offensive line in the league. The Colts' offensive line this year.
Where does that come from?
Look up the stats. I did all my research. Look it up.
Okay, Jared, this is their week 18 game, right?
Mhm.
Touches. Bucky Irving, 21 touches. Sean
And
Tucker,
what was the score?
27-19. Close game.
Okay. That's
Bucky Irving,
like barely
21
one
touches.
possession. They probably won by a lot. Okay.
Sean Tucker, 2 touches. Rashad White, 0. Rashad White, week 17.
He fumbled at the
7
end of a
touches.
game
Yeah.
where he lost his role, and I think that'll.
I mean,
My point with the
whatever
offensive line, the
happens,
Colts
he's
offensive
losing
line.
his role.
No, listen, there's multiple things you have to consider than just, he's better. The Colts offensive line had the worst year since 2016, which is, I mean, that's just what it is.
And
We had
frankly,
all
for
rookies
fantasy,
starting.
that's just tough luck for JT.
But no, listen, because Baker Mayfield's not mobile. Richardson is. So what I'm saying is your thing was that JT is worse than Bucky Irving for fantasy, right?
Yep.
You'd rather have Bucky Irving over JT for fantasy. The only reason that JT didn't perform like the amount of, like, he still did. He still had 1,500 yards, which is crazy for only playing 14 games. Richardson averaged 50 yards rushing a game. They barely had the ball. They were on defense the whole time. Our offensive line was terrible, and JT still in 14 games put up over 1,500 yards. And you're saying that Bucky Irving, after having 8 good games, because he was a rookie and didn't play the first half of the season that much, is just better? That makes no sense.
Situation factors into who's better for fantasy.
No, I'm saying situations so that you see all the adjustments JT had to make and all the hills he had to climb just to try to get back to his average. And that's with all that adversity that the Colts dealt with this year. Bucky Irving had just got spoon-fed the ball after the other running back sucked.
That's fine, but if JT's situation doesn't improve,
it will.
It doesn't matter. Like, he's in the same situation, so he's going to have to do the same thing next year.
No, because next year everyone won't be hurt. We'll have a full offensive line. We won't have 3 rookies starting. Richardson hopefully will keep the ball on offense, not go 3-and-out, missing passes by 10 yards. Maybe Mayfield will take a back seat. He was MVP candidate to start the year. Like, you never know. Their team was better last year. Going into next year, I would take JT 20 out of 10 times over Bucky Irving.
Yeah, I mean, you're also
like, it's just nonsense to think Bucky is better than JT.
Crowdsourced data just said they're the exact same player.
Sleeper. Crowdsourced
well,
sleeper.
Okay. No, he used Cape Trade Cup. But okay. Dynasty, Zach, yes. Okay, well, let's say they're close. I mean, they are close. Let's not deny that. Let's just acknowledge that they're close in terms of dynasty value, just because of Bucky's younger and has had a great second half here. Looking at redraft, though, I mean, looking at this next year, Zach, would you take Bucky Irving over? I guarantee you would, right? Based on how you're saying Bucky over JT next year too.
I think it would depend. I think isn't the Buccaneers offensive coordinator Leftwich, isn't he in like some head coaching roles? And I mean, obviously there's a lot that can change this offseason, but I'd say even for next year, I would put him pretty close. I don't know. I've never been a fan of JT because of the non-catching passes. Doesn't like there's no consistency there. So I've just never been a fan of him.
But you hate JT.
Bijan catches
he catches like 3.
He's like 3rd in the league or something for running backs. Bijan caught a lot of passes.
I don't know about that one. Wait, what
I
happened?
think
Taylor Van Dyke is on SMU, by the way, transferred. Just so you know.
I think I'm taking JT over Bucky. Obviously, I'm taking him over in redraft.
Bijan caught 56 passes, just for reference.
But where I think early ADP, I think Bucky's going to be going around 5. You'd say, at least.
I think he's
redraft.
Than that. I think he'll be.
You do?
Round. Yeah.
Who'd you take over, Bucky or Breece Hall?
It depends. There's so much changing in the Jets' offense. It's hard to say right now.
Breece Hall or Bucky Irving over Breece Hall.
I'll take JT over Breece Hall. That tells you where I'm at Breece Hall.
See,
that's just some early thoughts.
If it was the same Jets team next year, I would take JT. Yeah.
Okay. So Saquon Barkley had 33 receptions. He had
15 touchdowns. Does that make him 2 touchdown reliant and only 1-dimensional because all he can do is run? He can't catch passes. No, he's a damn MVP candidate. It makes no difference.
33 is a decent amount.
That could be 7 a game. That's 2 games. Like,
yeah, he's probably 20th in the league or something like that.
So you're just ignoring everything that all the points.
But Jared, also, you also got to think Saquon's behind one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Yes, exactly. That's my point. The Colts offensive line, Braden Smith, Ryan Kelly, they played like 2 games together this year. Quentin Nelson didn't miss a game, but that's great. He doesn't miss games. He's whatever. Our offensive line was hurt. We didn't have a healthy team. If healthy, you can't predict injuries and say, oh, because they were hurt, he's better. If we're healthy, our offensive line is great. Ever since Andrew Luck retired, our offensive line has been top in the league. Quentin Nelson hasn't allowed pressure all year. He didn't allow pressure all year. Like, he's just great. But that's the only like good piece of our team right now is Quentin Nelson, not even our offensive line. It's terrible. So if we're healthy, then you can say that Saquon is just like JT. Good offensive line, great running back. If we have the ball more, we'd run it more. But we don't have the ball. Richardson can't keep the ball. Mayfield's not going to do what he did this year next year. He's not.
I don't know. I'm not going to bet on I would bet on like Saquon getting 1,700 rushing yards before JT.
You bet on Saquon getting 1,700 before JT?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2021 when they were both healthy, Saquon had 1,200 and JT had 2,100.
See, this is why you can't argue anything Colts wise.
Well, no, I just want to know your
turn
mindset.
into like
Instead of just throwing out blatant stupidity. I want to hear your backup for this. Like, I'm going to take this. What if I said right now, I think Tutu Atwell's better than Cooper
You saw
Kupp.
what Saquon did was
he's
behind
younger.
Eagles
He looks so much
O-line
better.
this year, right?
Yeah, I know. Saquon's a beast. I'm not
Yeah,
denying
2,000
that.
yards.
Saquon's better than JT. But you're
Then why are you trying to
completely ignoring-
argue this?
Because you're ignoring his 2021 season.
that was
You're ignoring
4 years
JT.
ago.
That was not 4. That was 3. Calm down. Just because it's 2025 doesn't mean that was a whole season.
All right, it's 3 years ago. Same thing. Running
And last
backs'
season,
careers in the NFL are like 6-7 years.
the
That's
last 3
half of their
seasons.
career.
No, why I'm saying that is because this year he missed 3.5 games. Last year he held out for 4 games, missed another 3. He missed like 8 games last year. The year before that, he missed like 4.
So maybe he
His
should
only
actually
healthy
play.
no,
That
his
doesn't
only
help
healthy
the fantasy
season.
stock either.
So you just think that Rachaad White's just going to be cut from the team, and that
No, but I
Bucky
don't think
Irving's
he's
going to
gonna
be their
get many
top
touches.
Bucky Irving's going to just get consistently 25 touches a game? You think that's going to happen? I didn't see any 160 plus games from Bucky Irving. I saw about 3 from JT. JT's highs are so much higher. His ceiling is so much higher than Bucky Irving. Like,
The
this guy
218
came out
yard
of
game.
nowhere. Yeah. Wait, for who? For JT or for Bucky Irving?
Yeah, for JT against.
Yeah, Bucky Irving's
Titans.
high was like 150 this year.
Yeah.
JT had a 177. He had a 218. He had a 180. He's just better. I don't know what.
Yeah, but Jared, in order to get that, like he's having 30 carries a game. How many running backs are getting 30 carries a game and surviving a whole season? He's shown
Feedback-
the last 3 years that he
I was
can't stay
comparing
healthy the
Derrick
whole
Henry.
season either.
When I was comparing JT to Derrick Henry, you guys said Derrick Henry was by far better when he was getting 40 carries a game, and you had no complaints about that then. So don't use that against me now, because you said Derrick Henry was way better when he was getting 2,200 yards a year, but he had 40 carries a game. You're like, oh yeah, you're just gonna feed Derrick Henry because why go away from it? He's just the best in the league. There's no point not to. So now you can't complain and say that JT gets the ball too much and that's why he's good. You want your players to get the ball. You give it to your best player. Richardson struggled. You give it to JT.
Well, I think too the big point with that Zach's trying to make too with Bucky is just looking at like a per touch basis of how many like fantasy points, but because it goes back to the whole reception thing. And this, I'm just bringing up fantasy football here. I don't think there's a debate again on the skill level between who you'd rather have, but I think Bucky, right? We know that he's going to get the pass attempts, he's going to get the receptions, and therefore there's more fantasy points he could accrue per touch, if you will, based on that.
My problem
again,
with
I
this
don't think
whole
we can just-
statement is that Zach is so biased towards rookies and young players, and he thinks
Look
every
at his
single
dynasty
rookie and
teams.
he thinks every rookie and every young player is going to blossom into their best ceiling possible. He thinks that Lad McConkey, like, okay, yeah, he had a good year, so he might actually produce. But then you look at Xavier Worthy, you look at Ricky Pearsall, and Zach's like, oh no, they didn't produce. I didn't like them anyways. No, I don't think he can get separation. He can't do this. I said that from college. I said this. You draft like 8 rookies every year.
Yeah, I've been
Like,
saying that too. He
And you would just
keeps
expect them all
playing
to
for
block
6th
stuff.
place.
Yeah, well, my point is like you can't just be so biased and say, "Oh, he's so much younger. He has such a high ceiling." Then what's your argument about Derrick Henry this year? I didn't think he'd be anything. He's like 30, 33. But he's amazing on the Ravens. He's great. He gets the ball a lot, sure. He has a lot of touchdowns, but he's a beast. He's great. JT's a beast. I don't know what else you want to I don't know. I don't know why I'm arguing this, honestly.
Shall we talk about the playoff games?
No, I like talking about fantasy. Offseason, what head coaching positions are most intriguing for
I got those
fantasy?
up here too. So,
Intriguing? I mean, every coach that got fired, there's no intriguing spots.
well, most intriguing spot's the Bears. Right away, that's an easy one.
They got the most fantasy.
Do you think
I
that's
mean, just look at it.
intriguing?
Yeah, Jared. Look. Okay, that's the most intriguing spot. And GM Titans, you get the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah,
So
I agree with
think that's pretty
that.
out.
Do you
So-
really think?
Okay,
No.
which
hold on,
ones are you
because-
guys watching for fantasy?
Yeah, the Bears.
The Bears, yeah.
I think that's an important one. Caleb Williams' development. Who are they going to bring in? Is it going to be Cliff Kingsbury, guy who just helped Jaden Daniels? Obviously a rookie, but
It's the Bears.
we saw what he
It's
could
going to
do.
be the same every year.
I think Drew,
We
you
don't
probably
win lost
more
it.
focused on that because you have Caleb Williams, right?
Well, in one league, sure, but
Yeah.
in the grand scheme, Zach, I mean, think about that offense. Think about the guys in even redraft. Look at it. I mean, DJ Moore. Look at what he did at the end of the year here in terms of just getting all those receptions. Can we start getting his 8 out? Can we start seeing him go more downfield instead of just hovering on the line of scrimmage? Could we get Roma Dunze? Is he a guy who could be more involved? I just think that whole
Moore
offense.
is like surprisingly consistent if you look at it. Only 4 games under 10 points.
Yeah, but he's getting just junk work,
Yeah.
wide receiver screens the whole game. So
Yeah.
But no, I think that's the top one. I would also say the Jets is a second one that'd be of value.
I think you're just naming
Um,
like the highest market teams right now, like the biggest eyes. the
No,
most
I mean, well, the
eyes.
Jets have
No,
they have
the
Brees
Jet-
Hall, Garrett Wilson as of right now.
Yeah, but
Adams.
I'm sorry. I think you guys give way too much credit to the coach. Like I'm saying, when Justin Herbert wasn't producing, their team wasn't good. Now he produced this year and they're in the playoffs. Like I don't
Yeah,
The
because
coach
they had a
helped.
great- they had a
That
great
has
coach.
nothing to do with the coach.
No, but listen, because this is what I'm not going to bring it to the Colts anymore. Besides this, Shane Steichen was a great offensive coordinator on the Eagles, right? He was great. He built Jalen Hurts into this great running back, mobile quarterback, right? But Jalen Hurts was still Jalen Hurts. He didn't need Shane Steichen, and that's proven with him on the Colts because Richardson didn't blossom into anything this year, really. Steichen didn't help him.
Maybe
Richardson just kind of
sucked.
sucked. Exactly. So Steichen, if he was so good on the Eagles and made Jalen Hurts this great player, then why didn't he do it with Richardson? It's more just
Dude, there's
if
also
you
a
have
lot of
talent, you're
players
going to
that
perform.
No, you need coaching too.
Well, you do need coaching to an extent, but like the Chargers, look at the Bengals, right? Look at the Bengals. So they had a terrible team, but Burrow was able to guide them to 9-8. Zach Taylor didn't do anything, did he? No, their team sucks, their coaching sucks, but Joe Burrow was the reason they got to at least above 500. Mike McCarthy, look at the Cowboys. Their
Yeah, but
Cowboys are
Jake,
pretty
so
good, but Mike McCarthy sucks.
When Burrow came into the league, say his head coach was Matt Nagy, you
Mhm.
think he's turning into the Joe Burrow that he is now?
I mean, I don't think Zach Taylor is that much better than some of the worst coaches in the league. He used to be a good coach. I don't think Zach Taylor is worth a damn anymore.
So if the
don't
Eagles kept Doug Peterson, you think Jalen Hurts is the same player he is today?
Well, no, because Doug Peterson fell off a lot. I mean, he was great with that Super Bowl run. He was a great coach, but he kind of don't know what happened. But I work with an Eagles fan. You can tell you Doug Peterson was terrible, and that's why they fired him.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that if a great quarterback had a different coach, would they be who they are today? I get it, but you can't give credit to Jim Harbaugh or to John Harbaugh. Right? John is the Chargers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can't give credit to him because Herbert had a great year. You give credit to Herbert. Correct? Herbert had MVP
So-
MVP stats.
For Darnold's year, who do you give the credit to? Darnold? It's just all
I think the
Darnold?
whole team gets credit. I don't
Jared,
think
when do you
O'Connell,
look?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, when do you look at it like, okay, look at Kevin O'Connell, look at his track record with the quarterbacks. Like, when do you just look at like track record and say like, this guy's got something, right? I mean, I think with O'Connell, right, you got to look at that at some point, right?
It's the same thing with Steichen.
Kirk.
I-
You look at Kirk and you're like, I mean, Kirk's still a great talent. I don't know.
He was a lot better with O'Connell than he is with Raheem Morris.
I'm not arguing that coaches make a difference. I'm just saying I think you're like, oh, the Jets, they have a lot of talent. Put a coach in there and they're going to thrive, or they're going to suck and get fired within a year. Look at the
But Jared,
Lakers
what
in the
I'm saying-
NBA. They've had 4 coaches in 4 years. They've all been fired.
That's totally different, though.
Well, I'm just saying,
If
like,
you
coaches
put-
are, like they said, coaches are hired to be fired. Like, that's just what happens. If they don't produce, they don't win, they get fired.
So if Ben Johnson goes to the Jets, are you going to act differently than if the Jets get Steve Spagnuolo? Are you
Well,
going to
no, 'cause
draft
there's
Brees
gonna be a
Hall and
lot
Garrett Wilson
more-
there?
There's going to be a lot more hype around Ben Johnson just because of how much success they've had, and he's being looked at as a top candidate.
But you think it's not
So-
going to change their season outcomes at all?
I don't think it's not going to change. I think it'll change, yes, but I don't think it'll change in the span of getting 4 or 5 more wins for the team. Like I don't think coaches
Yeah, but like
are worth
fantasy
that much.
output for Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson.
Well, you don't know. Brees Hall just sucked this year, and you can't discredit Robert Saleh. He shouldn't have been fired, and all the players admitted that. Like,
I just think we gotta look at it too, especially with these young quarterbacks. I agree with the there's an importance of having a offensive minded head coach, with a young quarterback. I think we've just seen that. I think it's a trend that look. I just think Matty Eberflus again with Caleb. Look at how that turned out. Look how Gerard Mayo turned out with with May. Obviously, May's stats weren't the worst, but just looking at the win loss result, we don't see that. But when you see some other guys, obviously Dan Quinn's the exception there with Washington. That's one that I think. Look at the OC.
Who's like a
look,
guy,
yeah. So
you're going to mention Cliff Kingsbury, right? How good was he on the Cardinals?
They had that great first half.
I think his Murray's like best years were with him.
Yeah,
Dude,
Murray's
I
best year
defended.
statistically.
Don't even turn this right now. I defended Cliff Kingsbury for 3 years straight, and you guys were demanding him get fired. I was
He's an
defending him
awful
to the
head coach. But
I was
Murray has
defending
best
him.
years with them.
Murray statistically.
awful
has
head
What
best-
does that? What does that prove about my point? Murray was just great. Cliff Kingsbury sucked. He made no difference on that team. But
So
Murray
how
was
do you
better when
explain
he was
Murray
there.
getting worse after he left?
You just said he was a bad head coach. A bad head coach doesn't make a player play well. Well, I don't.
If you're
like-
calling good plays, it does.
So then he was a good head coach, which I was defending. I didn't think that he was the
No,
problem.
because there's a lot more to being a head coach than calling plays. So like guys like Steve Spagnuolo, I think he was
you
a
have to manage
head
the
coach
clock,
for.
call plays. What else? What?
I mean,
If
you
you're
need to
offensive
get the whole
minded.
team to play for you. You set the culture. You pick what guys are playing. You call plays.
I disagree with the culture thing because of the Colts this year. Not going to keep bringing it back, but if the players aren't on board with each other, there's no culture. Coaches can't fix that. And it's not Steichen's fault that the players are showing up late to meetings and everything. That's ownership. That's Jim Irsay. That's Chris Ballard. That's not the head coach's fault. Because the ownership was great under Peyton Manning, under Andrew Luck. Like everyone was on their, like everyone was ready to go when it mattered. And all the last few years, like they're not there.
I mean,
That's not Steichen.
that might have been like a Peyton Manning leading thing. You have to have a leader in the building. Usually that's the head coach, right? Like coordinators, you don't really have to be a leader because there's other guys that usually step up, right? But the two guys you need to be somewhat of a leader, your head coach and usually your quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Usually, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
I think I think we should pivot over, or still talk head coaches here, but I think it'd be interesting to talk about who we think's going to get each job. I think that'd be maybe more value here and more topics. Because we talked about some of the openings, but I guess if you go through them, right, we start with like Jacksonville, for example. That's one we haven't really mentioned yet. We mentioned Doug Pearson.
No one wants
a
that
little bit,
job.
Well, there's only 32 of them, so someone wants that job.
It's one of the more attractive. It's more attractive than like Vegas.
What do they have?
I mean,
here's something.
you have Trevor Lawrence, who's a decent quarterback.
You're high on
and
him.
it's in an
Yeah.
awful decision. It's in an awful division too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
do you
by
really
the
want to
top,
go
too.
to Vegas with the awful roster and go play the Chiefs and Broncos and Chargers twice a year?
Well, no, because you'll get fired immediately because you'll win 4 games.
Yeah.
But if you're on Jacksonville, you're probably still going to win 5-6 games and get fired, if not this year, next year. Like, I don't think that's when I think of appealing teams, like I think of the Titans right now. The Titans have the first overall pick. I mean, they're getting a new GM. They're rebuilt, like, they cleaned house basically. Which I still don't think that was a good decision to fire their GM after the first pick. And whatever, that's appealing. Starting a franchise, getting the first pick. And you look at the Bears. It's like, okay, the Bears have like the 7th, 8th pick, whatever it is. What can you really do with that? It's still going to be the same. If Caleb doesn't develop, you're going to get fired within the year.
But the biggest things that guys that obviously all these teams that have head coaching openings had something wrong with them this year. That's why they have a head coach opening, right?
Yeah.
So the guys, when they go into these teams, they look for can I build this team the way I think I need to be able to be a successful head coach? The way to do that is draft capital, right? And cap space. That's why people keep pointing to the Patriots job. They have 132
They have a lot,
million in cap
yeah.
space and the number 4 pick.
That was
right
my
now?
third most appealing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
like,
think
you already have
personally,
quarterback
I'd,
too.
You have Drake May.
I'd put the
You have a
Patriots at
quarterback.
1. I'd put the Patriots as the most appealing, in my opinion. I just think that ownership there is still great. I think that the coach, whoever comes in, just guide Drake May how he wants to play. There's not much you have to do that changes anything up. Like, spend some money, go out and sign some guys that you need, get some weapons, maybe trade for
The
a
biggest
top
issue is-
receiver.
Like their biggest issue is they really don't have much talent right now. Like, yeah, they have a lot of resources to go and get stuff, but they need a lot of stuff. And they're in the same division as the Bills, right? So it's not exactly easy division to win.
But 4 years ago, the Bills were in the same division as the Patriots, and that's why they weren't good. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because the team is, the Bills aren't going to go anywhere. The Bills aren't going to be worse for 2 years.
The Bills are going to be good for 10 years.
Yeah,
as long as Josh
the
Allen
Patriots were good for 15. That it just takes that quarterback. You get, say, Drake May is the next Tom Brady, then they have a solid, 10, 15 years ahead of them. It's teams like that where it's like, okay, if I'm the Patriots.
Oh, nice.
I can't hear him. Can you hear him?
I can't hear him either now.
Sorry, Jared. Well, I think Mike Vrabel's getting that job, so I'll say the obvious. That's the obvious cop out.
Yep.
And obviously defensive mind. So we'll see what Jared thinks about that. Hopefully,
Where do we think Ben Johnson's going there?
Ben Johnson. Okay, Chicago is an interesting spot because in division, it feels kind of weird.
That North would be insane, assuming he's actually a decent head coach.
I think I kind of think the Jets. Oh no, he hasn't interviewed for the Jets.
I don't think he's going to the Jets. I think
sorry,
he's going somewhere with a quarterback.
I meant the Raiders. I think he's gonna go to the Raiders.
They have what, the second pick, right?
Yeah, they have a top pick. I think Aaron Glenn is gonna go to the Saints. That's one former player, played for the Saints. DC. Look what he just did. He's gonna get a head coaching job. Look what he just did on Darnold and the Vikings.
Honestly,
I think that's one.
Where do you think the Saints rank in head coach openings?
Oh, so was there 6?
Second to last.
6.
5th.
Who's
I don't hate 5th.
Last.
I'd maybe say
I
last.
I think personally, I'd put the Jaguars last. Or no, the Raiders. Sorry, Raiders are last for me.
Look at cap
Jaguars
space.
would be 4th.
Saints
Yeah,
have
Raiders have 112.
They got
and the Saints
Kamara.
have negative.
Not enough
Jordan.
money could fix that team. You could give them $300 million, and you couldn't fix that team.
Just with how their cap is structured right now.
Yeah, but there's a chance.
Well, yeah, there's a chance with any team, but
like the Saints, I would agree with you, Drew. I would put Saints last. I think Saints are last, and then probably Raiders are 5th. Because the Saints, you don't have cap flexibility. Their pick aren't they picking 7 or 8 or something? They don't have a top 3-4 pick.
Yep.
I think I'd put
don't have a quarterback.
I think I would put Patriots 1. I'd put Titans 2, Bears 3, Jets 4.
Titans don't have opening.
Or Titans are GM. Never mind. So I'd put what was I gonna say? Patriots 1, probably Bears 2, Jets maybe 3.
This is where he hates the Jaguars just because they're in the South.
I don't hate the Jaguars at all. They're not good. I have no reason to hate them. I just think that Trevor Lawrence is overhyped, and I don't think they have much of a future with him. If that's biased, that's biased. But I don't know.
Well,
are you taking Trevor Lawrence
Urban
over
Meyer,
whatever the Jets have?
Well, Urban Meyer got fired. Doug Peterson gets fired. All these coaches go in to try to build Trevor Lawrence, and within a year or two, they're fired. That's
Urban
what I don't
Meyer
like about.
In a
Meyer
bar
was terrible.
on the
Yes,
team playing, and
he was awful. Yeah.
Doug Peterson.
But my point is, if you're not an elite head coach, Bill Belichick could go there and they'd probably win 6 games this year. It's hard to in the league right now. If you don't produce after 1 year, you're fired. And I don't think anyone that goes to the Jaguars this year will keep their job unless they win 8-9 games.
You know who I think's going?
No.
I think Liam Cohen So if you look, Dave Canales
That's
gets
the
the
Bucks
job with.
offensive coordinator, right?
Yep. Canales gets the job with Carolina with the work he did with Tampa. They didn't lose a beat, and he's gotten a lot of buzz. I think they're going to bring in an offensive guy like that. I think he'll get a shot. They interviewed a bunch of guys actually, or no, yeah, they did. They interviewed Joe Brady too. That was the other one who I thought would be interesting. Well, I can also see with Chicago. That's Bill's offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I would put the Bears at 1.
Yeah.
I would probably put the Jaguars second. Or I feel like Jaguars
Let's
and
just bother
Patriots.
Jared.
No, like who do the Jaguars
Okay.
have that's more appealing than the Jets? Let's just say the Jets.
Trevor
The Jets.
Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. That's all you need.
Why do you guys think Trevor Lawrence is a top 10 quarterback or top 15?
I didn't say
He's
that.
booty
But Jared,
cheeks.
better than what
He's
they
not
have
good. He is
with
not
Jets got
good.
right now.
Dude,
He's had
Jets
4
have
years in the
worse.
league and he's done nothing. He had one good year, and that kind of bolstered 4 years into him. He's terrible. He is not good at all. I
Jared,
don't know
we're
what you
saying-
see out of him.
We're saying a quarterback 20 is worse than like the 40th best quarterback in the league. That's
No,
what we're
I'm
saying.
not saying that. I'm saying that you think that Trevor Lawrence is this angel that's going to bring him to the playoffs.
We're
and
not
win a Super
saying
Bowl.
that. We're just saying he's better than
I
what
just
the
said-
Jets have.
Okay, no, because the Jets have Garrett Wilson. The Jets have Devontae at the time being, and I don't know if he's.
I care about
they got
quarterback.
Brian
I want to
Thomas
win
Jr.
games.
They got Evan Ingram. They got Christian Kirk. They have Travon Walker. They
So now you're
have
comparing. Now you're comparing Christian Kirk. I understand Brian Thomas is a top. He's going to be
him
great.
and
I
Garrett
get
Wilson
that.
are comparable. Christian
True.
Kirk is better
True.
than
There we
whatever
go.
else
Christian
the
Kirk is
Jets
not
have.
better than Adams, or if Adams
is getting
stays,
traded. They already came out and said
we don't know that. I mean, that's all speculation. But like, you can't just say, okay, Breece Hall. Breece Hall to who? Like,
yeah, they don't have a running back.
yeah. So my point is, like, if you look at the Jets, yeah, like there's weapons. You just need a quarterback. I mean, Rodgers is probably gone. What pick do they have? Probably like 8.
Jets like 8, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Which that could
Jaguars
there
have the
could be a
4th pick.
quarterback there.
They got a higher pick.
Yeah. Also, the Jets are New York. I think a team that's out of question. People like coaching for bigger teams. They get more money. That's just,
Yeah. Also, going back to what you said though about getting fired after 1 year, I think Khan with the Jaguars has shown he's willing to stick by a coach for longer. I mean, Peterson was there 2 years. I feel like they have shown they're more willing to stick by a coach than the Jets have been firing Sal after a 2-3 start.
yeah. But that's what you risk in a big market. How do you think Belichick became a great coach? Like, how do you think Andy Reid became a great coach? It's not that they were just good. It's just that their team was winning games and they won a lot, and then they were the coach. And then after a few years, they got used to winning, where they developed into a great coach. You can't tell me when Mike Tomlin came into the league, he was immediately just a great coach. He was good, but Roethlisberger was amazing. And they won games. And then he started to develop into that winning culture, which allowed him to, kind of build his culture into a winning culture. That's just like kind of how it goes. That's why first-time head coaches never really work out. Interim head coaches, yeah, they might win a few games, but there's a reason they don't get rehired most of the time, because like there's better options. There's veteran coaches that have been there that know how to win.
Well, okay. I think the Jets spot, though, I want to go back to that one because that spot is interesting in terms of who gets that one. Because, I mean, just like, let's just take our hypotheticals of who we think's going where, right? Vrabel, we think Patriots. And then the other top candidates, we think, I don't know. I don't think they're going to get Aaron Glenn. I don't think they're going to get Ben Johnson. And I say not that they're going to choose other teams. I just don't think that's going to be the people they end up with. I just find it interesting, like you mentioned Steve Spagnuolo as a guy they could interview, or they actually are going to be interviewing. I don't know. I could see that being an interesting fit.
Wasn't he a head coach at one point before? And
he was
flopped.
I think he was a coordinator. Or I don't know if he ever had. He was. Well, we know he's a coordinator, but I think he do something with the Giants. He was with the Giants. He was a defensive coordinator. But I think that would be an interesting fit. I think here's one they interviewed that I think is interesting. Team hasn't confirmed yet, but Josh McCown. So that's the Vikings quarterback coach, and obviously Immaculate Grid legend.
Yeah, that's an immaculate grid legend right there.
But I mean, that right away would be interesting. Brian Flores is the other one. Like, I think they go defensive guy. I do. I just based on that. Not
The Jets.
yeah. But just based on the guys they've interviewed, look at the offensive coordinators. They interviewed Arthur Smith, right?
Yeah.
So or they're going to be interviewing him.
I feel like also I don't like just looking at some of the comments that guys have made. It looks like, from my perspective, it sounds like Saleh had control of the locker room. They fired him, and Albright never got control of it. I mean, you got Garrett Wilson saying, "I don't know. We'll see what happens this offseason. They're coming back next year."
Yeah. it's
So
how
why
you
did
have that
Brian
He's
happen?
first
Dable
eligible
keep
for
his
an
job?
extension. You got DJ Reed saying, "I'm testing out free agency." Like, it sounds like that locker room is a mess right now.
So is the Giants, but why did Brian Dable keep his job? I mean, that was a
I think
question I had.
they look at that 1 year, Jared. You won a playoff game, and I know that
Yeah.
like sometimes a playoff game can last you an extra year or two. I think
And
that's,
that's
what we're
why I
seeing.
didn't think that Mike Vrabel should have been fired on the Titans, because he won like Coach of the Year the year before, and then a bad
agree.
year and he gets fired.
I think everyone kind of questioned that. I think Dable.
That's why I'm questioning Dable.
I think they want to give Dable a chance to draft a quarterback of his choice, because he came in with Daniel Jones, led Daniel Jones to a career year, and then it was kind
Teams
of
figured out Jones. Let's go with that narrative.
Yeah, it sounded like they.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like he took Jones to the best Jones can be,
Mhm.
and now it sounds like Mar just wants to give him a chance to get somebody that he actually chooses and see what can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good analysis of the situation, though. I think I really think I mentioned Raiders Ben Johnson. I want to look at some of the the GM. Jared, did you see the Titans interviewed the Colts assistant general manager?
Did they?
Yep, Ed Dotz was
Yeah,
reported.
clean house for the Colts. Clean house.
Get everyone out. I mean, Drew, were you actually trying to
Defend Gus Bradley?
Oh no,
Or was that a joke? Okay.
that was a total joke. Gus Bradley, Colts defensive coordinator, let go. It was on Monday.
Yeah,
So
that
it's
was
Tough to see.
On Black Monday.
yeah.
He will be missed.
He will not be missed by anyone. Maybe his family will miss the city or something. I don't know.
Divisional
Yeah,
opponents.
Poor Gus Bradley.
I hope he goes to the Bears. I hope the Bears hire him. That's something the Bears would do. You know, with Eberflus or the Panthers, like Frank
What if the
Reich.
Colts bring back Eberflus?
I'm just. I
Oh my
want you guys
goodness.
to know when I say a coach is bad, they're bad. Like Frank Reich got fired because he was bad.
Oh,
Then he got fired again
your
because he was
nose.
bad.
Okay, that was a hilarious hire when the Carolina was like,
it
"This is our guy."
Yeah. And that's why
he
Bryce
must-
Young didn't develop
look,
until now, because
he must be a
Frank
great
Reich was
interview.
Terrible. Yeah.
He's got to be a great interview because there's no other way you get a shot like that. Or I'm so surprised. Matt Nagy, he's getting all these. Okay, obviously, look, he's had success as the OC with the Chiefs, but obviously he's also with Andy Reid. So it's also like, how much success is he having?
Mhm.
But I'm just fascinated that he's getting all these head coaching interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, team
I feel
after
like
team.
That's why
gonna
I was
be,
that's why I was surprised with some of these names that are coming back up. Like you just said, Arthur Smith is getting interviews. Like, did they not see how bad he was when Cliff Kingsbury got hired? Did they not see how bad of a head coach he was? But then, I mean, sometimes they just turn out to be better in different spots. I don't know. It's
Oh yeah,
weird.
I feel like Matt
here-
Nagy is
go
going to turn into Eric Bieniemy. Like, teams are going to interview him just to see, but he's never actually going to get another job.
dude. Eric Bieniemy was in conversations for like 3 years now, and like
How
Colts
he-
wanted him
he's
as a
not
head
been
coach
in
before
this cycle.
Steichen. The last like year he hasn't been. Like when Colts were looking for a head coach, Shane Steichen, when we hired him, Bieniemy was like top candidate. And then like the next year and the year before, I think there was like a 3-year stretch.
Bieniemy is
where-
like an assistant at some like D2 school now or something. Like, he fell
Yeah,
off
he's-
the face of the earth.
'Cause
He went to
here's one
Washington, and everyone realized that he doesn't know how to actually run an offense.
yeah.
It's just all Andy Reid.
Mhm.
Here's one I think.
That's
actually might
sorry to
come
cut you off,
reality.
Drew.
Go ahead.
That's why I'm hesitant with Ben Johnson, because it's like, yeah, he's proven to be good, or is that just Dan
He's calling
Campbell
plays,
taking?
though.
He's calling plays though, Jared. He's a play
Okay,
caller.
okay, that's different then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could imagine Dan Campbell calling plays. Oh my goodness.
So he's giving the ball to big. Is it Dan Skipper? Is that his name? Dan,
Yeah.
big line.
Yeah, that's like the big thing with offensive coordinators is whether or not they call plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why you
And
didn't like Brandon Staley.
He called plays in San Francisco. I feel like he was a guy that I don't know if he wanted too much control over the whole team or I don't know.
San Diego. Sorry, Dominican.
Yeah, San Diego.
Yeah.
Los Angeles. Ended up
Yeah,
being.
you said San Francisco.
Well, wait, no, I was saying though, one guy who's definitely or I think could happen that would be pretty exciting is Pete Carroll to Chicago.
It's all talk.
It took his off year, coming back, kind of like Bill Belichick-esque, obviously not on that magnitude.
Pete Carroll is
Is
old.
he like pushing 80?
Yeah, he's really old.
Hey, but
should run
you
for
want to bring in
president,
a guy, and obviously we don't want Bears' success here, but like, look, if I were them, you bring in a guy who knows how to run an offense, and he's proven. I mean, he's proven to get the job done over the years. Obviously, the last few years with Seattle weren't the best, but he's a guy you want to play for, and I think that's a big thing you've seen with him throughout his career, long career. So I think that would be fun.
When's the you guys have even beaten the Bears? It's been so long. I can't even remember, to be honest.
I think one of the shocks is if Saleh doesn't go back to San Francisco as a defensive coordinator, I feel like he's going to get a head coaching job. Or it's
No,
the
we're
other way
taking
around. He's
Saleh.
either going to get head coaching or he's going back to San Francisco. But I feel like he
We're
might
taking
be
him
a
for
shocker
DC
to
in
get one
Indy.
of the
We're taking
jobs.
DC in Indy.
Really? I
If
think he's going to be off
the
this cycle,
he's going
Zach.
back to San Francisco.
He'll do what I think he'll do what like Vrabel and we've seen other coaches do same. I think he'll sit out a cycle, come back in, and he'll be the top guy, or one of the top guys. No, not the top guy. I think that'll happen, but
Yeah.
I don't hate that either. I feel like that was the opening for DC and San Francisco.
I don't remember, where did he interview? I saw he was interviewing with someone. Was it Jacksonville that is interviewing him?
You want to know where Saleh interviewed? I'll figure that out. Robert Saleh has interviewed.
Because honestly, I was talking to a guy I know. I was like, Cincinnati, if they move on from Zach Taylor, bringing in a guy like Saleh or Vrabel, one of these guys that can run a defense, I feel like would be a good what they should do. Because I feel like Burrow's at the stage in his career where even if you have like an average offensive coordinator, that offense can run itself.
And that's what Jared's point. Hold on, bringing this back. I think it depends on the player, and I think Burrow is one of those guys. Yeah.
I think that's why I was mentioning with the whole Jaguar situation, because like Burrow is far better than Trevor Lawrence. So if the Bengals had an opening, they'd be number one priority. Like that would be the job you'd want. You don't want Jaguars' job. Well, you might want the Jaguars more than like the Saints.
But if you're an offensive guy, you're going to want to go somewhere that has a quarterback. What I'm saying is like at this point, Burrow's already been with Taylor, who's run an offense. They obviously can run a successful offense. I feel like Burrow's at that point in his career. I think the Jaguars still need an offensive guy to come and help Trevor Lawrence run the offense. Like Lawrence isn't at that level where he can run an offense on his own. But if you're an offensive guy, you'd rather have a guy like Lawrence who you can run your offense through than whoever the Jets have next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Saleh's scheduled to interview with the Jets, or not the Jets, Jaguars.
Okay.
They bring him back after.
They bring him back. He's back.
Week 5 and bring him back.
Wow. Yeah, that would actually be fun.
That would be an interesting one if he goes down to Jacksonville.
Right.
The only questionable thing then would be who's running the offense.
Yeah, I was looking through. I mean, Louis Riddick got an interview, or it's already happened for the Jets GM job. So he's on ESPN. Otherwise, there wasn't really others of note. It was more of player personnel folks, assistant general managers, or I mean, really, that's kind of what you get in those GM jobs. We've seen a couple odd ones.
How do you think for the draft? Do we think the Giants and Malik Neighbors are going to get a quarterback this year?
You know, that thing you sent about the top like receivers and Neighbors was like number 5 or 4 or something in the league. Like,
Oh, dynasty rankings. Yeah, he's number 4, I think.
do you believe that? Do you?
I know it's not to your point really here, but do you really believe that he's the 4th best receiver in the league?
No,
For
he's not
dynasty?
best receiver
For
in
dynasty.
Yeah, dynasty rankings, yeah. He's 21 years old. Just put up, I think he was wide receiver like 6 and missed 2 games.
Okay, so that makes so it's dynasty, so that would be like why a lot of rookies are there. So okay, where do you think
Yeah,
he
that's-
ranks in the league for receivers, other than like outside of dynasty?
Are we talking like redraft fantasy or actual football?
Just football, yeah.
I don't know. I'd probably say like 10 to 15, maybe.
Because my point here is
Say 10.
what we see like with these quarterbacks that these say the Giants go out and they get a quarterback, right? Same thing happened with the Titans, like when they got Will Levis. You draft Will Levis, and you're like, okay, now we have Levis, we have Hopkins. Like, I know AJ Brown already got traded. That was with Tannehill. That fell apart when AJ Brown got traded. But then Hopkins didn't turn out to be this great player. Now Levis is, kind of
Levis isn't it though.
He's
so
not the
what
guy.
I'm saying
That's
is, say the Giants get a guy in the draft, and then Neighbors has a bad year and he wants out. Then they kind of they're stuck again.
I feel like Neighbors, if you give Neighbors like I don't know, I'm trying to think of like if you give Neighbors a Trevor Lawrence,
Okay,
I feel like he could be.
his value goes way down. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Wow.
I should have picked someone in the South. If you give
Stroud.
Neighbors a Tua, right? Tua's
Okay.
not top 10.
He's probably top 12,
Yeah,
15.
he's
15.
around 12, somewhere around there, right?
Yeah.
So he's not like a fantastic quarterback, but he's decent. I feel like Neighbors could put up, like he would be talked about with the top 5 receivers in the league. But
Yeah,
until
just
we
like if you
see
give
that,
the,
we don't know.
Just like if you give JT an offensive line, he'd be number 1, right? Is that what we're
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah. Okay.
Sure. It's
Cool.
same thing with like Brian Thomas. Is he was playing with Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence.
There's a
Not great
reason.
quarterbacks,
There's a reason
but
why
he
these
was
receivers
still-
produce. There's a reason because they're the only option on their team. If you give them a quarterback, they produce. If you trade them, they kind of fall off because they're not the top target. Look at Garrett Wilson to end the year. I mean, Adams and Rodgers were there, and Wilson
Yeah,
kind of
because Rodgers doesn't know how
plateaued.
to throw to anybody besides Lazard and Adams. That's one of
Yeah.
the biggest issues for the Jets.
So my point is, like, if you trade Neighbors, he's not a top 10 receiver, top 5 receiver. But if you get him a solid quarterback,
Oh, come on. No.
he's not.
Good
He's-
receivers
you
will
can't-
get their targets. They earn their targets if a quarterback is not.
So you probably
Rodgers.
thought, watching the Chiefs this year, you probably thought that Rashee Rice to start the year was great, which he was.
He's the number 1 receiver.
Yep. And then you probably thought Xavier Worthy was a solid receiver, right? He had like 3 straight weeks with like 80 yards and a touchdown. Like, he was pretty good.
Yeah,
But
he's
then they get
solid. He's not-
Hopkins. Then they get Hopkins, and the first week with Hopkins, he gets 9 catches for 70 yards. And then the next
He's
week,
not
he has 2 touchdowns. And Hopkins was a
Hopkins is
nobody
washed.
up until, he is washed. But my point is, like, if they're a veteran, and it just depends who you throw it to. I think if Malik Neighbors goes to a different team, you don't know. He might not get as many targets. I mean,
It's like
Malik
he's a
Neighbors gets 10
separation
targets a
stud.
game. I'm not saying he's
Neighbors,
not. Yeah, I'm just saying his value
It's like-
gets depleted.
That's
Look
how
at
you're
Cincinnati,
targets.
right? Like you give Higgins and Chase are both phenomenal receivers.
Mhm.
They're competing with targets, but they're still phenomenal receivers. You trade either of
Well, they
those
have
guys
Joe
goes
Burrow.
to a different team where they are the only target, they're gonna probably. I don't even know if they're gonna put up better stats or whatever, but they're gonna have a good year.
Well, no, you can't say that because Joe Burrow. I'm not going to say that Chase and Higgins aren't great on their own. I'm not saying they're not, but Joe Burrow is a top 5 quarterback in the league, and he makes them a lot better. If you put Jamar Chase in Malik Neighbors' spot, yeah, they're probably putting up similar stats. But if you put Malik Neighbors in Chase's spot, I think Higgins has a better year than Malik Neighbors. If that makes sense. Replace Jamar Chase and Malik Neighbors, and I think Higgins would be the number 1 on Cincinnati.
As this year, maybe. But I think if you do the same thing next year, I'd say Neighbors is still better than Higgins.
But to my point, Jamar Chase would be a top. I mean, he is top.
They're talking about quarterbacks.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, Jamar Chase, receivers perform better when most of the time when they're targeted the most. Most catches, most yards, most touchdowns. That's just what happens. So if the Giants had Jamar Chase and Malik Neighbors would not be he wouldn't put up the stats he did this year, and he probably wouldn't be considered top 10, close to top 10.
Okay, here's a perfect example: Jalen Waddle. He's been with Tua his whole career.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
His first year, he had 104 catches. He
1,000,
hit
1,100 yards
or whatever.
Yeah.
He had a really good rookie year. Everyone's like,
And
"Oh, he's a
second
good
year,
receiver."
he also had 1,000.
Tyreek got there the next year.
He
Waddle
still had
still got
1,000.
1,300 yards.
Yeah.
He had more yards the next year and way less catches.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Though. Like Waddle is a good receiver. We saw it when he's the
Mhm.
only target, but when he's not the top target, he's still a good receiver.
Yeah. There's also the whole thing about the top target taking away the top cornerback, and then you're stuck with the second cornerback, and you can take advantage of that. So there's different ways to look at it where, yeah, you have 2 stars. They're not going to both produce every game, but some games, like you said, Waddle will, be better than his previous year. That's why it's hard to predict. Like, oh, well, if this was this, then this would be that. It's all hypothetical.
Speaking of hypotheticals, I got Giants right now. What I think, okay, well, obviously, right, Sanders and Ward are the two top guys for quarterbacks, but if you look like class by class, I mean, these certainly don't seem like the top stellar guys. I'm taking Ward over Sanders right now in my quarterbacks.
Really?
Picks. Throw that out there right now.
Really?
For football fantasy, which one?
Fantasy or just the draft?
I guess fantasy, right? You got to go that way.
Because Sanders is probably number 1 this year. I'm at like right now. I would assume.
I feel like it's really close right now.
It's close. I think it's going to depend on. I want to see how the combine comes back. I want to see because obviously those kind of measurables
compete.
That's a good question.
That's been a growing thing where the top guys have.
Hear me out here. Hear me out. Titans don't take a quarterback. They take Travis Hunter, right? They stick with Will Levis.
I think Hunter's going to New
Levis
England
2 years ago. You think so?
Yeah,
I think New England.
like
because
that.
they got their quarterback.
He's going to New England.
Is he going
Do
to?
you think the
Who's
Titans
going
are
to top 3
stuck
then?
on a quarterback?
Okay, I
should be-
can see maybe Cleveland go Hunter, but
Sanders,
It's
Hunter,
like
is
a quarterback
Cleveland Giants. One of them is
Yeah,
not
I
taking a
agree.
quarterback.
New England.
So I'm assuming
New
Hunter's
England's
going to
four,
one
right?
of them. Cleveland's 2.
Cleveland.
Giants are 3. Patriots 4.
So
So
Cleveland.
in order for Hunter to go to New England, somebody else, another
Does
non-quarterback,
Cleveland take a
is jumping in.
quarterback?
I would
yeah,
assume so.
certainly they gotta.
The top 3 teams all need one.
Yeah.
I think okay, and this isn't a guy who I think is gonna fly up to this range, but okay. I've been watching college football playoff, right? I
Mhm.
actually think it's great. Obviously, there's my guy. Look, right now he
Right now,
has
it sounds like
said
he's going
that
back to Penn State.
it sounds like he's going back, but come on, how much money is he leaving on the table if
if
like,
he plays,
he said before the
another-
playoffs, if they get to the national championship game, I think Allers, your guy like JJ McCarthy, pops up. Here's where I was going with it. This is what I was thinking about your Giants question the whole time. Not whoever Neighbors, whatever hypothetical you guys are talking about. I care more about. Right? I mean, look at where Allers, how he's grown over just college football playoff. He could be the guy who sneaks up right now in this range. Be that quarterback who you're mentioning, that quarterback number 3 in this class, which I think would be crazy. I don't know. The other guys don't really do it for me. Ewers. I used to like Ewers before whatever happened with just holding out the ball. Same with Beck. And now Beck with the
What's
injury
wrong with
concerns
Ewers?
too.
Have I just not paid attention? What
I don't think he's going to be in the draft. I think
is it? Just with his injury, and he came back?
He hasn't played well, Jared. I mean, it just hasn't even been that. Beck, we don't the interceptions. Beck's so streaky. You'll get some great games from Carson Beck, which we saw throughout the year, but they also get the 3 interceptions or obviously
That
they
gets
can
you
surround his
drafted,
injury.
though.
I don't think
Showing the
Ewers,
upside gets you drafted.
Yeah, like
Ewers
Levis.
is 100%. I'd put my life on it. Ewers is going to the league because if he goes back to Texas, he's not starting.
No, he's going to transfer. Everyone's
think
saying
that-
that he has like $5-6
He's
million
gotta.
NIL offers from
Yeah.
like Big Ten schools and
Uh,
stuff.
If
You look
he
at probably
transfers-
Oregon, Ohio State, like the other big time schools are looking for quarterbacks.
It's a
You
good
mean the
take,
Big
yeah.
Ten? Yeah, it's all Big Ten. That's just whenever a team does good, they go to the Big Ten. Drew hates the Big Ten in basketball. He thinks they're terrible. And then you look at the Big East, and they have 2 top 25 ranked teams, and the Big Ten has like 10. You know, the Big Ten
They
started
have 2
rough.
teams in the top 10.
Who does?
Or the Big East.
Okay, yeah. And then the Big
Let's
Ten
go back
has
to the
like
draft here.
Yeah,
10
this
in
is
the
good.
top.
But
Okay, whatever.
Back, isn't he's going to miss like all of next year, isn't he? Or at least most of it. I don't remember what his injury was. I thought it was, like,
The
UCL.
severity is unsure. I thought with his injury, because he's gonna miss the remainder of 24 season. It's just it's his UCL. So I mean, think about what Purdy had. I think kind of similar. Purdy had to get Tommy John. I
Oh,
thought
that's
actually, but
still, like that for a team you're looking at it, you're going to bring in a rookie quarterback that probably can't play all of the.
he would go. He would go first round. He's not a first rounder right now. I mean, that's not a question. I don't think he is.
I mean, maybe like, is there any teams that are at the end of the draft and may need a quarterback?
I mean, you could see teams
Packers,
take a flyer at him.
at
Why
the
wouldn't
jail.
they? I mean, maybe the Saints.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've rolled out Rattler, but that doesn't come on. I mean, I know the roster's not right, but you can
Sounds
see
like
that
he could be like a Lamar pick. Remember when the Ravens picked 32, they picked
Yeah.
Lamar.
Yeah,
I think like if he makes it to the first round, which if you end up being the Giants and you're targeting Carson Beck, you're going to trade up into the end of the first round from the beginning of the second round, right? Just to get the 5th year option. Otherwise, like,
right?
well, Seattle missed, but maybe the Rams do it.
The Rams just failed with that.
Stetson Bennett.
Stetson
Stetson
Bennett.
Bennett's not the same as Carson Beck.
Well, no, but
Oh, the other guy I think in the top, I guess if we look at like top 6, top 7, because I'm going to include the Raiders on this. Ted McMillan, right? You'd think he'd go in the top there. To
I
those
hope he
teams.
goes somewhere with a quarterback. I hope he goes to New England.
That'd be a good fit.
That'd be-
Obviously, I just think Hunter would fit that well, but I get their spot at 4 doesn't really fit like that possible. I just don't want him to go to the Giants. I feel like we won't. I mean, we can see him as a receiver there. I just feel like it's more likely if he goes.
No,
other
I don't
spots.
think the Giants are going. If I had to guess, they'd be going maybe like 2nd or 3rd round receiver. But
No.
I think I've seen like the tech get linked to the Jets, the Raiders, the Titans in the first round. I feel like all 3 of those spots, I would end up not touching them in rookie drafts probably.
Yeah. What about Genty? Right? Do you think him going to 12 at Dallas is a lock?
I like that. That was like. Did you say that, Zach, or did Drew in the
Everyone says
chat?
that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think you think of all the
I
other
think
teams in that
that's
area, and there's like
close.
nobody that's appealing like the Cowboys are.
I mean, we think Atlanta's going to take Bijan.
I wonder how low will Genty go, or
They
high?
didn't have Fournette, did they? When they took Bijan?
What?
Who did Atlanta
Bijan,
have?
They
when they
don't
took
choose.
Bijan?
Tyler LG, and they still
Algier.
got him.
Okay.
He was coming off
Who-
1,000 yards.
Who else?
season.
They had 2. They had
Cordell
Algier and
Patterson.
Hunt. No, they had Huntley. Or was it?
Patterson.
Wasn't it Chase? Huntley, whatever his name was, Huntley.
Tyler Huntley's a good quarterback.
No,
They had
not
Todd
Chase-
Gurley. But that was a while ago.
That was Algier's rookie year. He had a big year.
Yeah. Yep.
What if Washington takes him at like 22? I guess
Who,
from what I've like the guys I've talked to that watch a lot of college football and do like a lot of scouting is the running backs behind Genty are a lot closer than the stats would say. Like there's a lot of other good running backs. Like I've heard Caleb Johnson's up there. It's like Omari Hampton or whatever from North Carolina.
I think there's only one first round running back in this class. I guess
Yeah.
I'll just put it there. There's a few. I mean, there's a plethora of day 2 guys, I'd say. But from there, I mean, this doesn't scream, the Bijan Gibbs or a class like that where we see
Do you
guys
think
go.
Genty is close to being?
I think it's just Genty. I don't think there's a whole lot of pass catchers in the first round. This obviously they're more back half, which we've seen. Obviously Luther Burden, Igbuka, those 2 guys. Tyler Warren.
It's really
is
just
pass
that's
catchers.
like the only high.
He's the only top 10 guy. Where I think this class is especially deep is offensive defensive line. I think that's going to be where we see. We're going to go to the draft. We'll hopefully hear.
Yeah.
So a lot of those names.
But do you think Genty is close to Bijan coming into the draft, or Bijan, or I'd say he's probably Bijan Gibbs, both of them.
He's in that. Yeah, right. He's got to be.
He's in that tier.
He's got to be. I do think, though, those guys as pass catchers are ahead of him.
A lot better.
So I mean, if you're asking me the fantasy perspective, he's number 3. But if you're asking hey, in terms of football, who I want to give the ball, I mean, he's right there with those guys.
I mean, do we think? What if Vegas takes him at 6?
Ooh, that's actually good. Good in terms of I could see that. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, obviously Carolina's not.
I get why you'd want to take a corner early. We see how good the lockdown corners are, but if you miss on a corner that early, it just any position, but especially a corner, it just.
I'd assume Will Johnson's probably going 5, right?
Yeah, I looked at him. Who other secondary guys?
I feel like he's the consensus top guy. Was Malachi Starks out of Georgia.
But there's edges as well too. If you look at Jalen Walker,
Jacksonville's got their edges. Trevon Walker and Josh Allen.
Yeah, but so at 5,
I guess maybe tackle too.
Yeah, some options there. I guess Bucks are starting here soon, or they have started. Jared's on that for us. Play the Spurs.
Cinema last time they played.
What?
You remember that game, right? When they played last year
in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Hey, Jared, who are the Colts taking? What position?
Probably tight end or cornerback. We need a cornerback and a safety because Julian Blackmon is terrible, actually terrible.
We needed a cornerback last year and we ignored it because then Isaiah Rodgers gambled and we cut him because he was, doing all that stuff. So we went into the year with the backups from last year. We started this year and Kenny Moore is good, but besides that, I mean, Samuel Womack and Jalen Jones aren't going to get the job done. So
I think I've seen Tyler Warren even when I look at it too. But I'm just saying, whenever I see someone post a mock draft, I see Tyler Warren there right at 14.
I've seen a lot of people say tight ends and
Colston Loveland on Michigan.
Yeah,
those are the 2.
I think only one of those guys. Do you think they're both going to go in the first round?
I've seen Loveland sneak in
I guess if there's a run, because Warren's consensus number 1, but Loveland's I'd say close. I mean, when you talk about the running backs,
we're not going to reach on a tight end. We're not going to.
I think 14 is too early for a tight end yet.
We need a defense corner. We need a secondary.
What about what Warren does?
Outside linebackers are fine, but no
blocker.
Secondary.
So I guess I haven't watched enough of Warren. From what I've seen, though, he's the highest I think I've seen was 20.
He's a utility guy. That's where
I see Bowers.
Blocker.
I've seen that.
We were a pick away from getting Brock Bowers. That's what really pisses me off. It's we were right there. If the damn Raiders didn't take him, we were taking him next pick.
Yeah.
And now we'd have then we could focus
He's no route
on
runner as Brock Bowers.
Yeah. That's why I don't know. I think personally, if we were going to focus on getting a tight end first round, I think nobody would be happy for the Colts just because tight ends don't solve teams. Like, we need defense. If we give up 43 points to the Giants in a must-win game, something's got to change on defense. We fired our defensive coordinator. We're going to draft defense first round. I guarantee we draft a cornerback or a
Malachi
safety.
Starks, safety out of Georgia.
Okay.
Safeties don't go that high either usually.
I need to do more research on defensive players in the draft.
From what I've heard, he's the real deal. Like, not quite Kyle Hamilton, but
yeah.
I mean that's who I think of. That's what I was going to ask you is, would you like Hamilton or Stark? Because that, right? Hamilton's the guy when he came out of Notre Dame
he was we haven't top 4,
which is like
I haven't seen him from what I've seen, he's not that good, but he's like a 10 to 25. Like, he's going somewhere there. But if you could get that and still get like a Loveland or something with their second rounder.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. All right, good draft talk, good coach talk. Playoffs? Anything else about the playoffs though? I mean, come on, those games. Packers are not going to get smoked.
I don't think there's many surprises that are going to happen, to be honest. Like, I don't see, although you guys aren't high on the Vikings, I don't see the Vikings losing. I don't see the Bills losing. I don't see.
The Rams could do it.
Yeah. I think the closest, maybe it's just because I'm in Wisconsin. I think the Packers will put up a fight. I think they have a good chance. I do.
If Hurts is out, do the Packers win?
Yeah, if Hurts doesn't play and Love does play, I think Packers got it. But I also see the stat, obviously you've seen it, that the Packers are like 0-4 against current playoff teams, or 0-5 or something.
Nope.
They beat the Rams.
They beat the Rams.
Well, playoff teams, I said, all right. The Rams aren't anything special. They're whatever.
Rams are my upset
but like
of the week.
The Broncos aren't winning a game.
Houston, yeah.
The Chargers aren't winning a game. Texans will take care of business. Ravens will take care of business. I
Chargers
think
are winning.
Honestly, though,
Chargers
I think Chargers might.
Yeah,
I
Chargers
think Chargers
are winning
might
this game.
have.
They're probably
Yeah,
favored.
I think Chargers might have a. Yeah.
Chargers -3. I got it up here right now. I can tell you. Packers winning.
The Steelers just fell off. Like,
Rams are winning.
Yeah, Jared, what happened to that, huh? What did I tell you 2-3 weeks ago?
That aged perfectly.
The Steelers are Cliff Kingsbury Cardinals.
Well, I'll tell you, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Buffalo, Green Bay. Give me Tampa and then Rams.
okay. No, what I'm saying is the Steelers will beat the Ravens by kicking 6 field goals and score 18 points, and then the next week they put up 40, and Russell Wilson
Because
has
their
300
offense can't move the ball.
pounds.
It's so inconsistent. They can't get consistent
But if they
drives.
play the Ravens, they always beat them, except for this last game. They lost to the Ravens once in the last 4 years.
If the Steelers want to win a playoff game, they need their defense to play lights out. And that's just not a consistent way to win games.
Yeah, but they consistently
it can be done, but it's...
they can win a playoff game. They can win one. They can't get.
They're not winning 4.
Game. No.
Yeah.
No, I think the big upset, and not to take the Packer Philly one. I like that upset. I think it's a great one. Great pick.
What's the biggest lock? What's the biggest lock after you say the upset that you think?
I was joking. That was my Packer one. That was my joke.
The Packer, you think that's your upset? Okay.
Well, that's a 7-2. I can't get any better than that. I don't know what to tell you.
What's the clearest game? Clearest game
is Bills.
Clearest game's Buffalo.
Bills Broncos. Yeah,
clearest.
That's going to be a 30-point win.
All right, maybe second biggest.
Okay, second biggest I would say is.
I think it's the Baltimore game. I do.
No.
I feel like
I look at it. I think Washington, Tampa. I think that's going to be a close game.
I think
feel like
Vikings.
the AFC ones are gonna be bad. I feel like Chargers are going to handle Houston pretty easily.
You really think so? Really?
Yeah. Houston, I would argue, is one of the worst or second worst playoff team this year.
At least you finally see that. I've been saying that for years.
Dude, that's
Are they the worst? I think they're the worst, Zach.
I know.
I'd say they're the worst. I'd take Pittsburgh over.
The worst playoff team?
Yep.
It's them,
So you think
Pittsburgh,
that you think
and
Houston would lose
Denver.
to Denver right now? You think Houston will lose to Denver, or you think Houston would lose to the Commanders?
Yeah.
You think Houston will lose to
NFC's
the
a lot
Rams?
more competitive. Like the
Yeah,
NFC.
sure. The
playoff
AFC
picture.
South is terrible.
Yeah.
AFC South is
awful.
not terrible. It's just
That's why the
subpar.
NFC North. Why does the NFC North have all the wins this year? Why? It's because they played the AFC South.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just this year.
AFC is not round one. I don't think it's going to be entertaining. NFC, honestly,
I mean,
I
what
feel
were
like
the
all the
Texans?
games
Are they
could go either way.
10-7, and Colts were 8-9.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the last two have the top 4 picks. Like,
Yep.
yeah. I don't know.
I
I think personally,
Houston's laid some stinkers.
what I think is going to happen is Eagles. I don't want to make you mad. I think Eagles Packers will be really close. If both are healthy, I'll take the Eagles, and then I'll take the Vikings, and then I'll take the Commanders. Vikings or Lions will beat the Vikings. Eagles will beat whoever they play between Rams, Commanders. I'm guessing, and Lions will make the Super Bowl. Then I got Bills, Chiefs. I think Bills beat the Chiefs. Doesn't matter who they play. Bills make the Super Bowl. Bills, Lions. That's what I got. And I don't really know. It's a toss-up.
All I'm saying, I want a Packers Bills Super Bowl. I think it'd be great for the game.
I'm gonna cheer for the Packers.
I think it'd be great for the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I would entertain
I don't think it's Packers' year. With how they've
I think
looked the
they're
last 2
a year
weeks,
away. I think they're a year away.
They've looked rough.
What team do you want to go on a run then in the NFC?
I'd like to see the Commanders.
Tampa.
That'd be cool.
Baker
Tampa
Mayfield
won it like
Super Bowl.
3 years ago though. Like I like seeing teams that
Yeah,
haven't
it's
been
completely
there
different
before.
team now.
Like the Bills.
I don't.
I want
care.
the Bills
Jared.
and
This is a good
the
take.
Lions. Teams that
Good take.
haven't been there. You know.
Nope.
So
Baker
I don't want to cheer
Mayfield
for the
Super
Rams.
Bowl.
I don't want to cheer for the Bucks.
I
don't
can't
want to cheer
root for a
the
team in a division not named
Eagles.
the Packers. I just can't.
Yeah.
I know. It's just the thing with me. Can't do it. So I'm gonna.
Although I do want to see the Vikings win just to prove you guys wrong that they're contenders, but I don't know.
It's not happening. Darnold's gonna lay an egg, and Jared.
Watch them
The
win
Rams are
week
gonna
one,
beat
or
them.
they'll
Rams
win
are gonna
wild
beat
card, and then
them.
they'll beat the Vikings. They'll beat or they won't play the Vikings. They are the Vikings. They wouldn't play the Lions. They'd play the Commanders or Rams if the Packers win, right? Because if the Packers lose,
they want the Packers to
Lions
win this
play
week.
the
Vikings should.
yeah.
Yeah,
Taking
Vikings
another
don't want to
one
see
game, too.
Detroit until the championship game if they have to see them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know.
All right.
Baker Mayfield
Nope.
Super Bowl. It's
Nope.
gonna happen. That would be phenomenal. Baker Mayfield against
Super Bowl?
Josh Allen Super Bowl.
Watch
Shane Daniels, rookie. I don't even think that happens.
Watch
Rookie
me,
Super Bowl.
like Baker Mayfield against Bo Nix or something, like just stupid like that.
That'd be terrible. That would be terrible.
No one would watch it.
Snooze
Yeah.
fest.
It'd be the 13-3 Super Bowl again.
Oh, what
Yeah.
a treat. I thought of that one right away.
That was terrible. Was that 2 years ago?
No, that was longer. That was
20.
That was with Goff. That was when Goff.
Yeah,
I
it was
2025. Yeah.
Goff with versus the Patriots.
Todd
Mhm.
Gurley.
Yep.
Gurley was
Todd
in his
Gurley.
prime.
Legendary.
So bad. So many. Was that just punt after punt after punt? Like it was just.
Yeah, it was the punt bowl. Johnny
All
Hecker,
defense.
Super Bowl
Yeah.
MVP. Should have been.
Yeah.
I don't think we have two teams that would give us a game like that, though.
Closest thing would be
Denver.
Denver and
They did something.
Denver,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, and
Oh my
Washington or
goodness.
the Rams.
No, the offenses are too good in the NFC. Every single NFC team, I'd say the offense is a strength of them. The AFC, I'd say a lot of them are like defenses are the strength. So you don't really have that with the NFC.
I feel like that's part of the reason why we're saying the NFC, like the games all have potential to be really good.
Yeah, just look at the over-unders. Like literally Vegas is telling us that too. 44.5 for Green Bay, Philly, 50.5 for Tampa, Washington, 47.5 for
50.
Minnesota, Los Angeles. And then 42.5 for Los Angeles, Houston, and 43.5 for Pittsburgh, Baltimore.
Yeah.
What was the Minnesota Detroit over under? Wasn't it like 56.5?
It was
or
in the
57,
50s,
something
yeah.
like
It probably hit the over, didn't it?
that? No, they scored like 40 points.
No, yeah,
31
because
more.
Darnold cut.
Yeah,
I don't
Minnesota
have that
scored.
for you, Zach. Sorry, but it was in the 50s, as expected.
I saw something like it was the highest since whatever. That's right, bro.
Yeah. So
Oh wait, it was 31-9. It was exactly 40.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the
Darnold laid
Vikings
an egg.
red zone end zone or red zone offense was like one of the worst in history.
But in all
Rated
fairness,
or
this was
something like
Darnold's first bad week since like
that. Dude's gonna defend Darnold until we see him lay egg in the
dude, you're
playoffs.
making it seem like Darnold's supposed to be this MVP candidate. Like he's been good, and you're not giving him any credit for being good. They're
I give credit to
14-3.
Kevin O'Connell.
oh my god. That's why they made the playoffs so many years before this, and they were so good. And yeah, come on, stop it, nonsense, foolishness.
I mean, Kirk Cousins was MVP with Kevin O'Connell, and now he got benched for rookie.
Give them all the credit you want. They have 0 Super Bowls, anyways.
That is correct.
all right, let's go to the Bucks game here. That'll wrap it for Zack
the Bucks
Rausch.
play on Sunday, right? Who they play against? Oh, the Milwaukee Bucks. They're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Good one, Jared. Thank you.
I just lost.
That'll wrap it for Zack Rausch, Jared Valleskey, myself, Drew Skyberg, here on this Wednesday night. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Drew's Sports Crew, the Journey Million, the perfect podcast for you.